Over the last several days, two teams have been at the forefront of the NBA media machine, and those teams are the Indiana Pacers and the Portland Trailblazers. Everyone and their mother seems to have a take on these teams. Should they keep going as they are? Are they just off to bad starts? Do they need to make some small trades to up the team? Or do they need to blow it all up, rebuild from scratch, tank for a big pick, and just give up on whatever it is they have going on at the moment? I, too, have opinions on these teams, so I decided to kill two birds in one stone and cover both of these franchises in the same video, starting with the Indiana Pacers. So let's get into it. The Pacers right now are 10-16 under coach Rick Carlisle, who is the first big issue we're going to talk about. But if you look at this team's net rating, they really should be better than they are. They have a positive net rating. They have the 13th best net rating in the NBA, in fact, with the 13th defense and 15th offense. They should be a slightly above average team, and their expected win-loss is actually 14-12, which would put them 13th in the NBA. So you can attribute some of their issues right now to just a little bit of bad luck, because it's expected that with the talent on this team and the way they've been playing, they should be a few wins better than they are. But even if the Indiana Pacers were a winning team right now, even if they were just barely over 500, that's not where a franchise wants to be. For years and years, this team has been either a first-round exit or it has just barely missed the playoffs, and that is the worst place you can possibly be as a franchise. You do not want to be a 7th or 8th seed, or even worse, a 9th seed. Even if you make the playoffs, you're losing in the first round. That's just not what this team wants to do. And it looks like this season, it's going to be more of the same old shit with the Indiana Pacers. Now, part of this can be blamed on the coach. Rick Carlisle, he sucks. He sucks as a coach, straight up, alright? He was not a very good coach for the Mavericks the last several years. I know he was good a long time ago, but clearly he has some issues with coaching in the modern NBA because he was not a very good coach for the Mavericks, and now he's not a very good coach for the Indiana Pacers. Domantas Sabonis is way down in his post touches and his assists. Despite the fact that he is the best player on this team, he is clearly not being used properly. Yes, he's still playing great, but he's not playing as well as he did in the last season, arguably the last 2 seasons, because Rick Carlisle does not know how to use him properly. He doesn't know how to use power forwards properly in general. We saw it with Kristaps Porzingis, and now we're seeing it with Domantas Sabonis. And I know that's ironic considering he coached Dirk, but it's just the truth these days. He doesn't seem to know how to coach a modern power forward. That's just how it is. Everybody else in the team, almost everyone else in the team, I should say, is having some serious struggles, especially from 3. Malcolm Brogdon is less efficient than we'd ever expect him to be, shooting 31% from 3. We know this dude is money. He should be shooting better than that. Chris Duarte, we can put his inefficiency down to being a rookie, but Miles Turner is the best three-point shooter on this team at 39%. Justin Holiday is not very efficient. Karis LeVert might be the most inefficient player in the entire league right now, putting up 15 points on 14 shots. Absolute shit. And in fact, it's even worse than that. There is 0.6% difference between his points and his shot attempts. That's absolutely atrocious. Okay. Absolutely atrocious. Sorry, I choked on some dust there. And then everybody else, like, nobody on this team can shoot. There's Jeremy Lamb, there is O'Shea Brissett, and there is Miles Turner. Those are the only competent shooters on this entire team right now. That must be partially on the coach, because a lot of these guys should be relatively efficient players. But moving on from Rick Carlisle, when you look at the overall construction of this Pacers team, they're absolutely not without talent. Like, this is not a team that should be tanking by any means, but they're also just not a team that has the talent you want from a contending team. Pretty much every player in the role they are in on this team, you can sum up with the fact that they are a good player, but not as good of a player as you would want for the role they have on this team. Let's look at Domantas Sabonis. 18, 12, and 4 on 57% shooting. Those are Domantas Sabonis' stats, and they are fantastic. He's been an all-star the last few years. He's clearly an all-star once again, but You really don't want him to be your first option. Domantas Sabonis is not the guy you want to be the best player on your team. He could be an alright second option on a good team, or a really good third option on a great team, but he's not a dude who's going to take you anywhere as your first option. He's just not on that level, and part of his issues this season may come down to the fact that Carlisle is not using him properly, but part of his issues are also just that he's not that amazing. He's an average defender at best who's playing out of position because Carlisle's a moron and still hasn't traded Miles Turner. Sorry, that's not necessarily the coach's fault. That's the franchise in general should have traded Miles Turner years ago, but I digress. He's playing out of position. He's not a very good defender. He has no three-point shot. And his game, while very good, he's very good at post-ups, he's very good at those mid-range shots, and he's a very good playmaker out of the mid-post. He's not elite enough at any of those things to be a superstar-level player. Domantas Sabonis at his peak is maybe like the 20th best player in the league. Maybe. And that's just not the guy you want to be the best player on your team if your team is going anywhere. And I know he's only 25, but I really don't see him progressing much more beyond what he's already at right now. I think we're seeing something very close to peak Domantas Sabonis, and you should not be waiting for this man to turn into a superstar for you. Next, we've got Malcolm Brogdon. He's currently leading the team in scoring with 21 points a game, even though he's not shooting very efficiently this season. But we know he can be a super efficient player in the right role. We saw it on the Bucks. He can be a very good third or fourth option on a team. He should not be your leading scoring option. He should not. He's a decent defender, a decent scorer, a very efficient player, and an okay playmaker. He should be a third or fourth option on a good team. He should not be the second best player on the Indiana Pacers. Chris Duarte is a nice rookie, but I really don't think you can count on him to turn into some kind of all-star. He's already 24. I'm not going to pretend that I know a lot about him, but I don't see him as a dude who's going to turn into a future superstar. I just see him as a very solid player in the future. Justin Holiday is a role player. TJ McConnell is a very nice role player off the bench. Some other guys, Torrey Craig and Jeremy Lamb, they can play better than they have been, but again, just role players. And Karis LeVert is playing like shit this season, but once again, even if he's playing better, as he probably should be scoring more than Malcolm Brogdon in the ideal role, you don't want Karis LeVert to be your second best scorer. You don't. He should be a number 3 or number 4 on a much better team. He is having a far too large role on the Indiana Pacers. He's just not that good. That pretty much sums up this team. They're just not that good. They're not bad. They're a little above average, but they are not great. And this is not a team that is going to get deep in the playoffs anytime soon. So what is my solution for the Indiana Pacers? Well, first things first. Trade Miles Turner. Oh my god, it's 2022. You should not be playing Domantas Sabonis at power forward. I know he's a little undersized for a center. I know he's not a great rim protector. But the issues with him at center are much less than the issues with him at power forward, and Miles Turner is just a glorified spot-up shooter who protects the rim on defense. His rim protection is good, but seriously overrated. Some other team could use his rim protection and his abilities much more as a role player than the Indiana Pacers could, because he's clearly not carrying them enough on defense to make up for the fact that Domantas Sabonis is now sharing the court with another actual center. He should be playing in the post. He should be getting all of his post touches that he needs, playmaking out of the high post, doing his thing. That's how you maximize Domantas Sabonis. I don't know if you trade him to the Hornets, I think would be a really good spot. Maybe, I don't know, the Nets have been floated around. I don't know what they have to trade, and I don't want the Nets to get any better, but maybe the Nets. Some team, I'm sure there are teams out there who would be willing to take on Miles Turner. He is a solid player, however much I think his defense is overrated. He's a good rim protector and a good shooter. He can have a role somewhere. It shouldn't be next to Domantas Sabonis. It just shouldn't. We've tried it for years. It hasn't worked. Trade him. If you trade him, and that doesn't work, give it a season, see what he can do, see if Rick Carlisle can pull his head out of his ass, or maybe just fire him right now and try to get another coach who has a clue what they're doing. If that doesn't work, then yeah, you might want to blow up this team. Brogdon, Sabonis, Turner, obviously, Karis LeVert, TJ McConnell a little bit, even Chris Duarte. You have a lot of guys on this team who have very real value in this NBA, where they could go, they could be traded, you could get some picks. You could tank for the next Zion or Ja Morant or, Luka, whatever the next superstar player is. Because you're not going to get much better than Chris Duarte while you are in your current draft position. You need to be worse than that. You just do. Maybe you trade Turner and this team turns into a real second-round threat in the East, and you're happy with that, and that's okay. Look, the Indiana Pacers, you're a middling franchise. You're stuck in Indiana. People don't really care about you that much. I'm not trying to shit on the Pacers right now. I'm being realistic. The Portland Trailblazers are in a similar place, but they've had enough success throughout their years. They got a little more credit. Indiana just hasn't. But if you can keep making the second round with some consistency, you can definitely be like a playoff lock every year. That's good enough for some teams to keep the franchise going, to keep making money. But right now, this team is a play-in team every season, and that is the worst place you can be. Trade Turner, try something new, and if it doesn't work, if you are still doing the same thing every year, then at that point, I think you gotta blow it up. That's my opinion on the Indiana Pacers. Well, that was significantly longer than I intended it to be, but I'm going to try to cover the Portland Trailblazers still in this video because I told myself that's what I was going to do. Hopefully I'll be able to get through it a little bit faster than I was with the Pacers. Now, the Trailblazers right now are 11-14. They have the worst defense in the entire NBA, and somehow still have the number 7 offense despite Damian Lillard playing like shit. This is a good offensive team. You look at this starting lineup: Dame, CJ, Norman Powell, Yusuf Nurkic is a decent enough offensive center, and Robert Covington is a role player there for defense. Off the bench, you've got Simons, Little, Larry Nance Jr. This is a very solid offensive team who could very easily be a top 5 offense if Damian Lillard wasn't playing like ass this year. However, their defense has been bottom 3, I believe, bottom 5 at least, for the last 3 or 4 seasons. They are a garbage defensive team. Absolute shit. And you are never getting anywhere with a bottom 5 defense in this league. You need to be at least top 20. I don't care if you have a top 5 offense. You need a top 20 defense if you would like to make it out of the first round in this Western Conference. With the exception of that one year they made the finals, the Western Conference Finals that is, and got frickin' swept, and that was with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum both playing out of their minds. Trade someone on this team. Dame and CJ are the worst defensive backcourt in the entire NBA. They suck. Then they suck on defense, okay? Like, they're very good players, even with Dame playing bad. Very good players. Offensively, they suck on defense. Norman Powell, also not a great defender. You're playing him at small forward. He's a shooting guard. He cannot guard a small forward to save his life. Robert Covington is the only positive defender on this entire team besides, Nasir Little and Larry Nance Jr. can be okay on defense. Simons, I don't think Simons is a good defender. I feel like I saw somebody say that Simons is like an underrated defender. I don't really think so. Nasir Little and Larry Nance can be like okay bench defenders, but they're not really helping you. And Robert Covington just can only do so much. Robert Covington should be the second best defender on a real good defensive team. He can play like a Draymond Green role. He has good off-ball defense, but like, he's not carrying your defense. He's just not that dude, okay? My advice right now, and I feel bad saying this because the man has a collapsed lung. Prayers up for CJ McCollum, by the way. But they should trade him. Straight up. Trade him for Ben Simmons. Please. I know I'm biased here because I'm a Sixers fan, but freaking trade this man for Ben Simmons. There's no reason to keep running this Dame CJ duo. Get the team some freaking defense. See if that helps. See if it helps. I don't think your offense is going to suffer too much. Yeah, Ben Simmons has some issues, but you're surrounding him with shooting on this team. I think that's the best thing you can do. A Ben Simmons, Robert Covington duo on defense is going to terrorize the NBA. It's going to be very, very good. This team probably becomes at least a slightly above average defense if you get Ben Simmons for CJ. I truly believe that. Dame can keep doing his thing. He started the season like shit. He's gotten a little bit better even though he's still having issues. He's missed some time with injuries. Hopefully he comes back and he no longer has these issues. He looks back to his old self. But if he doesn't, and if the Blazers do not trade CJ ASAP, which I think they should do, I really think your only option is going to be to blow it all up, because here is a scary thought that might happen with the Portland Trailblazers. You can keep treading water, being a play-in team and a first-round exit for the next 2 or 3 seasons, and in 2024, Damian Lillard is going to be 33 going on 34, and CJ McCollum is going to be 32 going on 33. Your team is getting very old. Norman Powell's going to be over 30. Robert Covington's going to be 34. Yusuf Nurkic is going to be 30. Your entire core, Larry Nance Jr. is going to be like 33. Everyone in your core, except for Fernie Simons and Nasir Little, if you even count Nasir Little as part of this core, is going to be old as hell, and they're going to be declining. You will have missed your chance to get a big trade for these guys. When Dame is exiting his prime, people are not going to be hungering for him like they are right now. Trade him while his value is high. CJ McCollum, same thing. Trade him now, because when he is 32 and when Dame is 33 or 34, people aren't going to be wanting them nearly as much. Maybe you'll get a finesse out of somebody stupid who decides to take an aging superstar, like basically what the Nets did back in like 2014 from the Celtics, but most teams are not stupid enough to do things like that. Trade these dudes now while their value is high. Robert Covington has value, Norman Powell, Yusuf Nurkic have some value. Keep only a Fernie Simons and Nasir Little, I would say. Blow it up, tank, and just tank. Like with the Pacers, I'd say give them a chance without Sabonis. With the Blazers, just give it up and tank. Honestly, like Ben Simmons would make you better, but at the end of the day, Dame is still getting older. Most of this core is still getting older. The Pacers are a much younger team than the Trailblazers. The Blazers are old. They are an old team. Trade them. Trade everybody good. Just do it. It sucks. I feel bad for Blazers fans, but this team waited too long. They waited too long to make the big trade that could save them. Trade the CJ McCollum, trade whoever to get a superstar. They took their time, and the time has passed. I think the Blazers need to just give in and just blow it up at this point, especially with Dame and CJ now having injuries. Trade them right now instead of waiting for their value to drop more and just letting your team slowly fade into obscurity over the next several years. Stop putting off the tank. Just give in and do it. I'm sorry you couldn't get it done with Dame. I really would have loved to see him have some success in Portland, but you missed your chance, and it's time to blow up the Portland Trailblazers. So for the Pacers, trade Miles Turner. Hope it works, and if not, blow it up. For the Portland Trailblazers, I think I just said the Portland Pacers. The Indiana Pacers, right? For the Portland Trailblazers, just blow it up. You can try trading CJ for Ben, or I really think that's the best trade there is CJ for Ben. I would like CJ. It's a win for both teams, but I don't think that's enough at this point. I think your team's going downhill. I think even Ben Simmons, you're still not a contender, and you're still getting older. So just blow it up. I'm sorry to say, just blow it up, Blazers. I think it's time. Thank you all for watching this video. It was much longer than my normal videos, so if you watched this long, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a good one.